Hello and welcome to EBTV's 2021 Township Council Candidates Forum. I'm Brodman, your moderator for the evening. Tonight, we televise this forum from the East Brunswick Town Council chambers. Members of the local press will be asking questions of the candidates running for Township Council. We are pleased to welcome Maureen Berzok, representing East Brunswick TAPinto, and Susan Loyer from mycentraljersey.com, the Home News Tribune. Our candidates representing the Republican Party is Dave Herrera, and our candidate representing the Democratic Party is Dinesh Behal. We will begin our program with 3-minute opening statements by each candidate. The order of the opening statements was determined by random drawing earlier this evening. 2-minute closing statements will be given in the reverse order. After opening statements, the reporters will alternate asking questions to both parties. The party's candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. The opposing party's candidate will then also have 2 minutes to respond. We will alternate so that both parties have equal opportunity for first response. Let us begin with opening statements. Dinesh Behal, you will open.
Thank you, moderator. Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to tune into EBTV and the debate this evening to learn more about me. My name is Dinesh Behal, and I'm running for town council in this election. I stand for financial responsibility and respectful governance. My wife and I have been proud residents of East Brunswick for several years. As many friends and neighbors know, our son attends East Brunswick High School, one of the crown jewels of the township. We bought our house here in East Brunswick because of the wonderful public school system and rich diversity of its population. Above all, I believe in service. It was my willingness and abilities to serve the community that got me appointed to the library board and zoning boards. While serving on these boards, I've always kept East Brunswick residents first in my mind. Additionally, I'm a founding member of the East Brunswick Lions Club. Presently, as your councilman, having been appointed in February 2021, I share Mayor Cohen's and council's desire to continue to stabilize property taxes through an efficiently run government. We have currently achieved AA+ bond rating from Moody's Investor Service, which has kept our property tax rates stable. In addition, redevelopment of commercial and industrial properties that have fallen into disrepair will make our community not only more attractive, but will bring in significant funds for the township. For example, Tices Lane's site developer will be deeding back 1/3 of their property to the township to be used for new recreational facility, and will be providing required road and signal upgrades. The township must be able to adapt to current development trends and commercial uses while looking forward to improving the other non-performing properties. I'm proud of Democratic team and its accomplishments and pledge to continue the legacy of working diligently for all residents of East Brunswick and governing responsibly. Above all, protecting taxpayer and families is paramount to me. Our multitudes of programs through our parks, recreation department, our senior center, and our library, and many arts productions at the community arts centers are just few of the examples which make East Brunswick the special place we all call home. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself and ask for your support to provide me the opportunity to continue to proudly serve all residents of East Brunswick as an elected member of the town council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dave Herrera, you may begin your opening statement.
Thank you, and thank you guys for being here. I left my my speech at home, and the truth is I don't feel that we need one. I want to talk to the residents of East Brunswick. My name is David Herrera, and I am running first time as a town council candidate here in East Brunswick. After moving to East Brunswick when I was 11 years old, after 9/11, me and my mom found home here in East Brunswick. I've been here for the last 20 years. I went to Hammershaw, Churchill, graduated East Brunswick High School. My first job was at the Target on Milltown Road, right? First time I ever got into a fight was outside of the school. I had my first job here, I got my first car here. I've opened 2 businesses here in East Brunswick, and I'm proud to live in this town. The reason why I decided to run for council is because after seeing what's been going on in our town for so long with a supermajority in the town council, I felt that it was our obligation to have younger people step up to see what we could do for our town. I don't want to leave East Brunswick, but I've been walking around the town for the last 6 months talking to residents about the things that truly bother them. And this isn't a Democrat, an independent, or a Republican issue. The problem is that it's too expensive to live in East Brunswick these days. What you used to get, when I moved here 20 years ago, and I'm just making eye contact with you, but when I moved here 20 years ago, I lived on Cranberry Road. Do you remember the cows that used to be on Cranberry Road? That was a huge difference from when I moved from Queens and we lived across from the M train. So you can imagine, East Brunswick is a place that holds something so special to me that I could never explain it on paper. I remember I wasn't even allowed to leave the front gate of my home in Queens, to my mom being able to say, you can go out and play with other kids. But I do know, as a kid who grew up here in East Brunswick, there's far too little activities for our youth to do in town, other than walk around the mall with the 20 bucks your mom gave you or the money you didn't spend for lunch. But I want to do something for our youth that makes East Brunswick an amazing town that people want to stay in. What happens here in town? People come here, they educate their children for a blue ribbon school district, and then they leave because they can't afford to stay here. I love this town, and I want to represent it, and the people that don't feel heard. Because believe it or not, from walking around for the last 5-6 months, people don't feel heard. You know, I'm excited to open up to questions. I've been super transparent about what I want to bring to the table. Fiscal responsibility, it's a new talking point from the opposition, but fiscal responsibility is something that I want to bring to this town. Common sense redevelopment, cut spending, lower taxes, and most importantly, which seems to be overlooked here, is a balance of power. Our town right now has been one-sided. And again, nothing against the Democrats. I've actually voted for Councilman McAvoy and Mayor Brad Cohen. But I do believe that it's time to have a difference of opinion, to have a different voice and a viewpoint, and also somebody who brings not only youth, but ideas that help me survive in my business. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to the questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. We will now begin the questioning portion from our reporters. Ms. Loyer, you will have the first question, and it will be to the Republicans first, followed by the Democratic response.
How do you think you can keep the township, how do you think the township can increase its tax ratables?
So a lot of people don't actually know this. It's a good question. East Brunswick is an 80-20 split, right? So 80% of the tax burden falls onto the taxpayer, 20% falls onto the businesses. Some towns have a different split, like South Brunswick or North Brunswick up the road is a 60-40 split. Right now, the only way to increase or decrease the burden on the taxpayer would be to bring in more revenue through businesses. But what we've seen is a Route 18 corridor that's decimated. What we've seen is closed businesses. What we've seen are people that are leaving. You know, I do this thing, maybe you guys have seen it. I do these Herrera hotspot videos where I go around and I talk to business owners in town. And majority of the business owners, the small business owners, don't actually live in East Brunswick. So what we've noticed is there's not a lot of East Brunswick living people that own businesses here in town. So we do need to do something with Route 18. We make a joke about how the opposite side of Edgeboro Road, like we kind of written it off as it's not East Brunswick, it's not New Brunswick, it's kind of like in the middle. But there's empty space that needs to be filled. There's businesses that need to come into here. Our mall is another thing that we need to bring more businesses into that as well. But we need to think about ways to do that, because again, at the end of the day, if we don't have the businesses that are going to fill that other 20%, somebody still needs to pay the other end of that tax burden, right? It's not going to be, oh, well, we didn't get, the other 20% from the businesses, so we're not going to take it. It's going to end up falling onto the homeowners. It's going to fall on the residents, the renters, the people that live here. So I think the only way for us to decrease the burden on the residents, sorry, I saw the sign and it threw me off, but the only way to decrease that onto the residents would be to figure out how to get more businesses in town that want to stay here and grow with us in the new direction East Brunswick should be going in.
Thank you. Democratic response.
Thank you. One thing for certain in governance is ability to strike a balance between taxes paid and services provided. Me and my team have been working constantly to bring in more businesses, We have created a job for economic development officer who's been constantly bringing business. And in the last 5 years, every year, average 100 new businesses come to the town. There is a lot of redevelopment already in process. As part of Mayor Brodman's team, I'm proud to say that it has been less than 0.5% municipal tax increase in each of the last 2 years. The average resident has seen a tax increase of $7.20 for the last year. This has been accomplished because Mayor Brodman and his team had made significant investments in their departments, kept healthcare costs flat for 4 years in a row, restructured our debt. Financial rating agencies have recognized these efforts, and we have achieved a AA+ bond rating from Moody's Investor Services, keeping our tax rates stable. I believe in financial responsibility and smart redevelopment and improvement of services. Smart redevelopment will bring in higher tax revenues. We have already begun to see revenues from Edgeboro industrial redevelopment projects. The Tices Lane project should bring in millions of dollars to the township. Very fortunate to have an extremely high tax collection ratio, and I thank residents for paying your taxes in timely manner. With influx of new businesses in township and smart financial approach, we can have every reason to believe in taxes will continue to remain stable. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Ms. Berzok, you have the next question to the Democrats first.
Good evening. Suburbia is changing. So when we talk about things that were here 20 years ago and we remember them nostalgically, that's not only true of East Brunswick, but it's true of everywhere in towns like ours. East Brunswick, like many other local townships, needs to change so it can continue to be an attractive place to live. What are the two most important changes that the East Brunswick Township Council will need to make in the next 3 years? That would be the length of your elected period. Okay, and how do you propose to make those changes?
Thank you for the question. The two important areas, one is already, we just discussed redevelopment of Route 18. The other main thing that we think that we have to focus is our parks and recreation areas. Park and recreation areas plays a big role in everybody's life. East Brunswick has many beautiful parks and recreation areas in the township, which are not only being used by residents, but also attracts people from other parts of the neighboring towns. Nearly 1,000 acres of verdant parkland and open spaces provide an array of recreation opportunities to our residents. During the stay-at-home order last year, we kept our parks open so that people could exercise, enjoy fresh air, enjoy our beautiful natural settings. We are about to expand the number of parks in our town under the leadership of Parks and Recreation Department and Mayor Brad Cohen's team. So the first park will be at Fresh Pond Roads on Milltown border. This is a 17-acre site which has wildlife and plants that will be a heaven for nature lover, school field trips, and new trails. The second park scheduled to be developed sits on Farrington Lake near Elks Lodge. This area will be primarily used for Boys and Girls Scouts as training area. We are very, very well aware of the need of a community center that can house an indoor pool, basketball courts, meeting rooms, and host our indoor sports. Working with our congressional representatives, the counties, the state, the schools, and the developers, we hope to bring this massive dream project to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera, the Republicans.
So I actually would echo the same sentiment, as those are two huge areas that we do need, obviously redevelopment being one, Parks and Rec being another one, and then sort of along the lines of Parks and Rec, I do believe arts, bringing arts to the town. Right, I know some of the biggest events that they've done are like they did the food truck festival a few years ago, which I was actually a part of helping bring to the town. But I remember growing up in Queens, one of the best events that I would love to see here is they used to do, and if you've ever been to them, they used to do like concerts in the park. Right, like every other weekend night there was like Frank Sinatra band or there was a salsa band. I really think those are the type of things that bring communities together. I do believe in what he was saying as far as expanding the arts, the Parks and Rec. But one of my biggest things is what are we doing with that building that we just had East Brunswick Day at. It's used for the Playhouse. It's done for that. It already has a lot of land on it. It already has a lot of space. I would love to see the community center up there without having to overdevelop a new area or tear something down. But I think that would be a great place to do things like basketball courts, to do things like a pool, like he was saying. Because I do believe that's a great way for the community to interact. Kids would go there. You could do things like a snack bar, have an opportunity for kids, right? I mean, I am 31 years old, but I do still think like a kid. And I could tell you right now, if they open something at the rec center where, you could go and play basketball, I might have to put on my sneakers and go up there. But the redevelopment is another big thing. We keep talking, and I can guarantee you tonight that that's what we're going to keep referring back to, is this redevelopment plan on Route 18. But there are so many areas of East Brunswick that are already developed that need love, that need some TLC that we can revitalize and bring things to. East Brunswick we don't need to keep cutting trees and breaking down buildings. There's areas of this town that we could revitalize and make it more attractive.
Thank you very much. Ms. Loyer, your question to the Democrats first.
Some heavily traveled roads in East Brunswick have become dangerous due to high volume, causing problems not only for motorists, but also for the East Brunswick Police Department. What are some ideas you have for addressing traffic problems in the township?
Thank you very much. I knew this question will come. This is a growing problem, not only for East Brunswick, for whole New Jersey. And East Brunswick is not different. Mayor Cohen's team has been working with Middlesex County to come up with the plans to ease the traffic issues on county roads in our town. Our strategic partnership has helped us to receive many grants to improve our roads. Riva Avenue was recently repaved using county grant money, and we are working on Fern Road next and many more on our list. There is no easy way to slow the traffic to address it properly. You need proper planning, and my team is working with all the new and redevelopment projects and negotiating with developers to widen the roads, improve signalizations, and to create jug handles which go straight from the development to Route 18. All of this will be done by the developer and will not cost taxpayer anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Republican response.
So widening the roads, creating jug handles, all the nice things that he just said don't actually decrease the traffic that we're going to see. A redevelopment that's going to bring hundreds of houses and apartments and all these other businesses to town will increase traffic. I do agree. I know Maureen has heard me and both my moms signal this sentiment at a council meeting. We live on Cranberry Road, which used to be, like we were talking about, farmland. I'm sorry, I'm nostalgic. But now you should see the amount of 18-wheelers that rip up and down Cranberry Road 50, 60, 70 miles per hour. I know we came here and suggested that maybe we could do something to help the police, like a deterrent, such as a digital speed trap, because we do know that when we did go to the police station and they put up some sort of flashing light signal to let people know how fast they were going, the truck stopped ripping up there. Obviously, it would be a really far-fetched idea. I know they proposed it here at the council about maybe rerouting trucks from 130, up by where the warehouses are on 18, up on 130, and that would be a great idea. The reality is that New Jersey is one of the most highly dense populated areas in the country. We do need to fix the roads. We do need to there's potholes that have been here longer than my opponent. They've been here maybe 12 years and they're still there. But we do need to do things that are going to better push this traffic that we are going to bring in, whether we like it or not. I do agree, we do need to develop and continue to do that, but that's only going to add more traffic to the roads that are already here.
Thank you very much. Ms. Berzok, your next question to the Republican first.
Well, Dave and Dinesh, I know you anticipated all these questions about the redevelopment, so I won't disappoint you.
Let's go.
Under New Jersey's eminent domain laws, the Township of East Brunswick has acquired property in the redevelopment zone on Route 18 South between Ferris Street and the Turnpike. However, some longtime local owners have not agreed to release their property.
Yep.
Do you support East Brunswick's continuing the pursuit of eminent domain so that the redevelopment of this blighted area of Route 18 can continue? Or would you recommend that the township rethink its plans in light of the resistance of these property owners?
That's a good question, Maureen. Like I said, I've been going around for the last 5-6 months, and you can believe that one of the stops was to go and speak to the people who own those properties that you speak of. And you are right. Team East Brunswick over here has done eminent domain. And as you are aware, eminent domain does take about 10 years. So that's not actually what is going on right now. And you can go and speak to these people who are there. Team East Brunswick, the Mayor Brad Cohen team, whatever it is we want to refer to them as, has actually instituted condemnation. They found loopholes in the system to where there was a bunch of different claims that they didn't upkeep their building, or that one guy said, they had an animal control complaint, and then they came here to a council and they voted to condemn these properties because they weren't being upkept. But let me ask you a question, Maureen. You own a house and they're going to condemn it, or you're not able to get permits to get somebody to rent your house. Are you going to put money into upkeeping your location? Probably not. Are you going to cut your grass? Are you going to make sure that the paint is on the walls? Probably not. So it was very easy for them to get condemned. My goal when I get elected is to bring these property owners back to the table to figure out how they can be a part of a redevelopment with us, because that's really the thing. If you think about it, these people still own this property. So while we have this billboard and we can have a book with a bunch of Post-it notes talking about the redevelopment plan and talking about how great it is, the reality is that East Brunswick condemned property of people who were paying taxes to stay here, and they're still paying that property tax. They're still paying rent on spaces they can't use, and now it's strictly about principle. The people I've talked to have no intentions of selling. The Loman's Plaza, which is owned by the Wolfs, they have no intention of selling because they don't like the way that East Brunswick went about it. I agree we need to develop that area because it doesn't look good for our town. We need to do something with it. But the reality is the way we went about it was a loophole, and it put a bad taste in people's mouths, right? We can talk about the redevelopment all we want. Team East Brunswick stopped a quick check from going where, the old David's Bridal used to be. I see the sign. But they paid $5.5 million for that property that sold 3 years prior for only $900,000. So when we talk about fiscal responsibility and redevelopment, see if there's a Post-it note for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. It's actually a very great question. It's easy to say, but there is a process that has to be followed when it comes to redevelopment and condemnation. And I'm gonna lay it down for everybody. The Township of East Brunswick has recognized for nearly a decade that its Route 18 retail corridor and abandoned industrial properties had become blighted and were underperforming economically. And that its commercial tax rateable base suffered. To determine the future of the corridor, dozens of meetings were held, including public forums throughout the township. In the meantime, court ruled that several hundred additional affordable housing units have to be constructed. Blending these requirements, a plan was developed, adjusted, and redesigned to fit the needs of our community. Eventually, economic plans were formed and property owners were given the opportunity to develop their properties to become more productive. Some property owners took advantage, such as the owner of former Wonder Bread Bakery site, 110 Tices Lane. In addition to the increased tax ratables coming from this property, the developer will be deeding back 1/3 of their property to the township to be used for new recreational facility and will be providing required road and signal upgrades. The redevelopment process has already recently provided the township the ability to capitalize on industrial properties along Edgeboro Road. This property will bring additional $500,000 plus in revenue for the township and will create hundreds of jobs for the township residents. Moreover, we will have a site improvement to Route 18. To continue to provide stable property tax base, the township must be able to adapt to current development trends and commercial uses while looking forward to improving the other non-performing properties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Loyer, your next question is to the Republicans first.
Thank you. The Township Council banned all recreational cannabis businesses from operating in the township, but is continuing to allow alternative treatment centers or medical marijuana facilities to operate in limited locations. Some surrounding communities have opted to allow recreational marijuana businesses, including retailers, to open in their municipalities in hopes of increasing revenue. Would you like to see recreational marijuana businesses, including retailers, open in East Brunswick, and why or why not?
Well, this is a great question, and this is my forte. So I actually came here to this council a few months back, and I spoke out against the recreational marijuana dispensaries opening up in town. And I listed reasons, not because I'm, this big bad conservative and I don't want people to have their choices and be able to do what they want to do. I was actually very pro the medical marijuana. I am pro anybody over the age of 21 using marijuana. But I spoke to it as not only somebody who is in recovery, as most people know, but as somebody who has lived in this town and understands what is affecting this youth. And as I said earlier about kids not having a lot to do, what do kids do when they're bored? They do tend to get into a little more trouble than we would like them to. So I understand that we opted out and some places opted in. You did not fail to say, though, that majority of the towns that do surround East Brunswick did opt out as well. Right, towns like Old Bridge, North Brunswick, some of the big towns that surround us did not opt in, and you have to ask yourself the question as to why. And the reality is when you opted in by that deadline, which, by the way, all 5 of the councilmen said no to, including my opponent over here. We all agreed on that issue, that it wasn't something East Brunswick should opt into at this time, because the reality is once they said yes, they were stuck for 5 years. It could have been 1 year, 2 years, and they decided we don't like it. The state of New Jersey is going to tell you, well, it's too bad. You've got 3 more years to fulfill it. But you can opt in later. So I think East Brunswick did make a good decision in regards, and I will agree, the Brad Cohen team made a great decision to sit back and to see how it would go in other places. Because the reality is we're talking about traffic, we're talking about roads, we're talking about overdevelopment, we're talking about all these things. What do you think is going to happen when you're one of the only towns in Middlesex County that has a recreational marijuana facility? They're going to flock to it. Look what happened in Colorado. Look what's going on in California. People do like it. And again, if you want to participate in that and you're over 21, I agree. But this was about protecting the youth. It was about protecting our suburbia. And again, at the end of the day, they talk about the tax revenue that it might have created, but there was no tax breakdown given. You had to sign and then you would know what was going on. So I think they all made the right choice. I will commend them on that. Thank you.
Democratic response.
I'm happy to know that my opponent believes in my team. Whatever most of the things we are doing right things for the town.
Not most.
At the time we voted no to cannabis, state guidelines were not available. For the council to understand what is good for our town or not, one of the important responsibility of all the elected officials is to make sure that we have all the facts in front of us before we decide on anything. That was the main reason. We would have been, foolish on our part to do something and regret later. So we'd rather wait to have the facts in front of us before making any decision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe we are up to Ms. Berzok with the first question to the Democrat.
4,599 residents of East Brunswick have contracted COVID-19. That's about 9% of the township's population. 111 residents of East Brunswick have died during the pandemic. Yesterday, 11 East Brunswick residents contracted the virus. What has the Township of East Brunswick learned from our shared experience with COVID-19? How can we best prepare for emergencies without overtaxing our first responders, public servants, and senior citizens?
Thank you, Maureen. East Brunswick, the place that we call home, is very close-knit community. We all have our special gathering location, be it places of worship, coffee shop, saloon, the diner, pizzeria, and now the majority of the COVID restrictions have been lifted. It is time once again to be together with loved ones, with friends and neighbors. Those special times we took for granted are now so very special and carry much greater meaning than before. To pause, I would like to honor all those people whose lives were lost during the COVID pandemic, and to honor those family members whose grief may never be fully healed. My deepest condolences are with you and your loved ones as we emerge into post-pandemic world. Looking back, we see how we spent more time together as families and had greater chances for communication. Our air became fresher, lakes and water bodies are cleaner, and we had chance to enjoy our parks and outdoor recreation areas. We got the chance to meet our neighbors on daily walks. Using enhanced technology, many of us were able to remain employed. Our children were able to be educated, and the business of township continued. Above all, the development of several vaccines helped us to overcome one of the greatest threats to survival in over a century. While some people are overly critical of our ability to adapt to our current challenges, I consider myself an optimist. I believe in the good of people, and I want to continue to serve the people of our great town. I believe in giving back and the ability to make a change in the lives of people of our community for the betterment of quality of life here in East Brunswick. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Republican response.
Before you start my timer, can you just reread the question?
4,599 residents of East Brunswick have contracted COVID-19. That's about 9% of the population. 111 residents of East Brunswick have died from COVID-19. Yesterday, 11 people got COVID-19. What has the Township of East Brunswick learned from our shared experience with COVID-19? And how can we best prepare for emergencies without overtaxing our first responders, public servants, and senior citizens?
Okay. So, again, I'll start it off with, condolences to anybody that, is either passed from it, experienced it. I know it affected everybody, and it wasn't just East Brunswick, right? This was a global pandemic that we dealt with. And it's a hard thing that we have to manipulate, right? That we have to work through together. And like he said, we stayed at home, we got with our families. I know I got a lot of heat for my response to you about COVID, and I even talked to you about this at the fair. And look, we have scientists and doctors and healthcare officials that are working tirelessly, right? One thing that we didn't mention is that East Brunswick, I think, is almost 90% vaccinated, which is amazing. 86%, right? I rounded up, for the good of the cause. But that's an amazing number to have, right? To have people that are vaccinated. And it's sad that people are still getting it. What I learned as a business owner, right? I didn't have the luxury of, sitting at home, not sitting at home, but, not going to work. I was an essential worker, as they said. I had to operate a business. I was out there. I was scared, right? I didn't know what to expect. This was before PPE, right? I tell this story all the time. I was actually stuck in Greece when the previous administration shut down the border to Europe. I was on a flight to Germany, and when I landed, they were like, you're stuck, and you couldn't get PPE. So I had to navigate through Europe during COVID. So I understand the fear. I've seen it because I'm out there talking to people every day. I'm out there serving people because at the end of the day, the world keeps going. So what I think we need to do is obviously continue to plan, make sure people are safe, make sure people are following protocols. But I believe it's the job of the town council, and I believe it's the job of the elected officials to figure out how to financially navigate, how we can keep going. Because at the end of the day, and I think we're all started to know this, vaccinated or not, COVID is going to become part of our daily lives. It's going to be something that, even though it's a horrible thing to say, it isn't going to go away. We're going to have to work through it together. We have to figure out how to keep going, how to make financially responsible decisions, open businesses, keep our ways of life going, and ultimately we will beat this. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Ms. Loyer, and the first responder is the Democrats.
Thank you. How can the township increase its low and or moderate income housing for young people who want to move into the township and seniors who want to sell their homes and move to a smaller location within the township but can't afford to do so? Sure. It's basically, how can the township increase its low and or moderate income housing for young people who want to move into the township and seniors who want to sell their homes and move to a smaller location but can't afford to do so?
So low-income housing is something not which we control. It's something to do with the state. And as a township council, again, I will go back to the redevelopment. This is where, court mandate us to build 350 affordable houses. And we are planning to build it in the redevelopment area. It's something, that we have to listen, we have to work. I'm going to pause here. The question is, can you please repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
Basically, it's how can you make housing more affordable to young adults and to the seniors who want to sell their homes and stay within the township, but not spend a lot on homes. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about affordable housing for like people starting in careers like teachers, firefighters, police officers.
Yeah, so those affordable houses, exactly, I will go back to the affordable housing. It's somebody, who's starting, a teacher can be also fit in the same thing. A teacher with a single mother with 2 kids can also fit in those houses. So we have provisioned, and every redevelopment, we have certain number of affordable houses being built. And, that's what we focus on.
Thank you. Republican response.
Back to me? All right. It's a good question, right? East Brunswick is one of the most expensive towns to live in Middlesex County and in New Jersey. I believe the way that we can figure out how to make, I know you're not talking about specifically affordable housing, which, you know, as somebody who, they think the statistic is you can't live, like you have to make more than $60,000 a year to survive in East Brunswick, right? Or in New Jersey alone, like it's a very expensive state to live in. So I think we need to go back on, as a town councilman, when I get elected, to go and look at previous and current spending and future spending bills to figure out where we could maybe save the taxpayers money, right? I made a statement about how, you know, a lot of services were closed this year, the school, a lot of things like that. Were there ways that we could have given back to the taxpayers? I know a lot of people, a lot of seniors, like you said, they're leaving, they're going to Florida. Look, I'm only 31 and I thought about it too. I almost went and opened a restaurant because, you know, New Jersey in general is an extremely expensive place to live. But I think that we can figure out a way to cut costs in certain areas without sacrificing service. And again, when we talk about a redevelopment, that I don't know if we're going to go back to that, that's going to be a pilot program funded where they're going to get a tax break in lieu of payment for 30 years and build 1,500 whatever units that are going to now go onto the schools, which are now almost at capacity. They're building trailers, and the rule in New Jersey is if you have a temporary solution, you're going to have a permanent solution, right, for whatever it is. So we're going to fill up these schools. You're going to have people coming in here not paying the same tax rate. So we want to talk about affordable housing and how we can make East Brunswick more affordable. I think the plan that they've laid out is going to end up making East Brunswick way more unaffordable within the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you very much. I believe the next question is from Ms. Berzok, and it is initially to the Republican candidate.
Yeah, you keep forgetting about me going first.
Huh?
It's okay.
Goes back and forth.
I know that I share everyone's opinion of the high respect with which we hold the East Brunswick Police Department. The East Brunswick Police Department has earned accolades for providing consistent good service to the residents of the township, especially during the coronavirus. In the past few years, the expansion of the East Brunswick Police Department's community policing program has also expanded its scope. What types of additional community outreach would you support to form a strong connection between the police and the community? Should the East Brunswick Police Department hire a psychologist, as has been suggested by the New Jersey State Chiefs of Police for many police departments around the state?
Sure. Great question. First of all, I love our men and women that serve, our EMTs, anybody, first responders. The East Brunswick Police Department, as a kid growing up here, you know, people would say East Brunswick's not a town you mess around in. You don't speed in here, you don't do anything wrong in here, because East Brunswick has a police department that is no nonsense. I speak a lot about, you know, my past, and I put it out there for the people who are watching at home. Like, I didn't live, you know, the most noble life when I was younger, and I made a lot of mistakes. And you know what? I was always afraid of the East Brunswick Police Department because I lived here, and you know, they're always sitting right when you get off 18. They're hiding. They're good at that. But when I changed my lifestyle around, when I started doing things that were actually with the police, we would do fundraisers, we would give away meals. I own a restaurant in South Plainfield. We were giving a lot of food to the police during the pandemic. But when we started actually having conversations with the police, we realized that when they take that badge off at night, they're citizens of this town. You know, a lot of them don't live here, but they are citizens just like us. They're people who do a job. And I believe as far as community outreach going, again, I was one of the most skeptical people of police growing up. I think most teenagers are, like most people don't like police when they're younger. But I grew to have an undying respect for the police, and especially the ones in our town. Because you know why East Brunswick is such a great town? Because people know this is not a no-nonsense town. You're not coming here to mess around. I do agree that, you know, there should be more programs that we can use to filter out cops that maybe shouldn't be here. I don't think that's necessarily a problem within the Department of East Brunswick, but I do agree, and that would go into maybe funding a little bit more towards the police. So, or, you know, maybe moving around where the cops can have somebody that can do that, because I understand, you know, not all cops are prepared for certain situations, especially somebody who maybe does have psychiatric problems or somebody who does have problems with substances. And I think that would be great great. But I just think the best thing we could do for East Brunswick would be like when I went to do the ice cream with cops when I was there. And I think people seeing the police, not in that, the red and blue lights in your rearview mirror, but just as people of our town, that would make our community come together with them more.
Thank you very much. Democratic response.
Thank you. We East Brunswick residents place a high value on our safety. The police department follows a code and conduct and takes its direction from Chief Frank Lasacco. He sets the directions, culture, and priorities of the unit. Under Mayor Brad Cohen and administration, there will be no defunding to the police department. For 6 years in a row, East Brunswick Police Department has been voted the best police department in the Middlesex County. Under the leadership of the Township Council, with Mayor Brad Cohen's, our investment in the police department have focused on Blue Delivery Program, which delivered food to homebound seniors during the COVID stay-at-home time, the Junior Police Academy, Neighborhood Watch programs, free home and business security evaluations, educational lecture services, school resource officers, strong relationship with our school youth programs, house of worships, businesses, the library, chamber of commerce, and other first responders. Our investment in technology has allowed our police department to deal with issues such as identity theft, credit card fraud, body camera technology, and crime prevention. We certainly have our share of heroes. All residents are invited to attend the award assembly on October 13 at Hammersholt School at 6 p.m. Please come out to honor those brave men and women who have helped prevent or stop. And lastly, many thanks to you, the residents who support our East Brunswick Police Department through your generous contribution to PBA and SOA, through attendance at police functions, community watch programs, and through social media support. The safety, security, and well-being of you, the resident of East Brunswick, is our number one concern. As member of the Township Council and Mayor Brad Cohen team, you are our number one priority. And I will agree with you, Maureen, but I will leave it to the Chief Lasacco to see whether a psychologist and how to use them. Personally.
Thank you.
Yeah, so personally, it's not a bad idea, so I will agree to
Time,
that.
please. Thank you. Okay. I believe we are up to Ms. Loyer,
Yes.
and the question is directed to the Republican candidate.
Okay. I know there's been talk about the senior center here. There's been talk about relocating it. Do you think it should be, relocated to a new location, or would you like to see it expanded at its current location, and why?
So that's the first time that I heard of it. The senior center right over here, correct? I believe if it's something that's already here and the town agrees to that, it's probably going to be way cheaper to just, upgrade it and do the renovations that are necessary than to create a whole new building. Most people know where it is. It's in a great location. And I don't think that it would be the most proper way to, spend money to rebuild something new. If we have something that's great and we can expand it here and we have the space, I totally agree that that's something that we should do in that regard. I mean, the seniors are actually East Brunswick is one of the oldest towns. Like per the census, like our age rate, our median age is actually higher than most towns. And Maureen, see, I know I'm doing well because Maureen's giving me the head nod, and she is a critic. I do like her though, so I know I'm right on that one. And East Brunswick does have a very high rate of seniors in our town, and we need to do things that, again, the same way we want to do programs for the youth, I think we need to do things that are great for our seniors. And if expanding that building, if making it better, if doing things, I know they had a problem with the HVAC a few years back. I think that got fixed, right? I got another nod. But these are things that I think we should do, and I think it would be the most efficient financially to expand and build what we already have there than to create a whole new building. So.
Thank you very much. Democratic response.
So the East Brunswick Senior Center, I personally don't believe it's moving anywhere. We want to keep it right here. And we have already done, and we are continuing doing a lot of upgrades, and I will tell you right now, we place high value on our Department of Aging because of our senior citizens are one of the greatest treasures of our community. As an elected official, I believe it's my duty to do my best to protect them. Before my term began on the council, at the onset of the COVID pandemic, our senior center was first municipal department to close. During our stay-at-home time, all of our seniors received correspondences or visit from our Department of Aging staff. Sincere thanks to Mayor's Charity Fund, VAWA, Brunswick Memorial Funeral Home, Care One, Parker Life, Library, Parks and Recreation, and EBTB for your donations of time, food, resources, programs, and virtual events. For many of our senior citizens, these resources were daily lifelines. During the closure of the senior center, my team was able to make needed upgrades to the facility through state grants to include new flooring, furniture, windows, and safety features to prevent flooding, a new patio, picnic table, and bocce court and pergola. Our senior community has been very resilient, and thanks to Mayor Cohen for bringing the vaccination program to the homebound residents who could not otherwise have received the COVID vaccine during the last spring of 2021. Now that the senior center has reopened and the residents have the opportunity to see one another and partake in many different programs, events, educational series, once again, we are renewed in our tribute to those friends whose lives enrich our own, and thank one another for their kinship and appreciate all that our Department of Aging's, our cherished community of elders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For our last question, Ms. Berzok, you have the question, and it is to the Democrats first.
This is a little bit more of a philosophical question, a political science question. I defer to Mr. Brodman in that area, the expert on that. As an example, 70% of residents of East Brunswick voted in favor of cannabis legalization. And that was a very general, and you both referred to the fact that the state made it very general and didn't provide a lot of specific information about how that would play out. That's understandable. But 70%, that was the highest number. Last election, we had 26,000 voters. That means, 18,000 people voted in favor of cannabis legalization, right? Very popular. Popular in New Jersey, but very popular in East Brunswick. I'm not asking you about cannabis, but I'm asking you, what's more important, listening to what residents want or doing what you think is best to do? This is a very old political question, but neither of you came full out and said, I would really like to see cannabis up there because people want it, and, it's a business like anything else, and we can tax it and whatever. So nobody came out for that. So is it more important for you to follow the will of the people, or for you to think and act in a purposeful way?
I will defer back to my earlier comments, and you have said it also, that state guidelines were not out there, and I do understand many people voted for it in East Brunswick also, just like every other town of the New Jersey. But again, we want to make sure if it makes any sense moving forward, whether it's safety concerns, there are multiple concerns that we have to go through when the guidelines are out, and we will most likely have another meeting and the council will decide on it. If it's for the favor of anything which is favor of East Brunswick, we are up for it. But we have to think how it's going to impact our youth. We have to think many different perspectives before we can decide on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Republican response.
Yes. So I make no bones about it, about the way I said it. Just a reminder to the people at home, there is only one person in this room that was actually able to cast a vote to say no to it. I merely expressed an opinion based on my instances in recovery. And again, I will defer to what he said, and I will take it a step further, that with not having any guidelines and protections and making sure that children were going to be safe and making sure our communities weren't going, we just had a conversation about your question about how could we not put a strain on the police and the first responders and do that. Well, bringing in something that's unvetted, untested, and we have no idea how it's going to work in our town would be irresponsible to do. Again, not anti-marijuana, not anti-people's rights to choose. And like you said, 70% of New Jersey voted on it. I was one of the people that voted yes. So I'm not anti it. People should be able to do it. But again, it's the same thing as like, yeah, let people do it. Oh, not in my backyard. That's the philosophy that I think a lot of East Brunswick took. Is like, let people live. And then when the ordinance came up and they're like, we're going to do it in your backyard, they're like, wait. I thought you were going to do it over there or in a city or somewhere away, but not in my backyard. So I think it's the same concept. But again, if there was guidelines that I think were put in place that would make sense and make sure your kids are going to be safe. You know, I talked about this, we banned vape cigarettes, e-cigarettes in town because they were too enticing to children. That was the logic we had. That was what the government said. But you don't think that cannabis gummies or cannabis flavored soda or brownies or cookies would be just as enticing to young children? That's something you need to take into consideration. If you don't think that people would go and drug dealing would increase, you don't think the traffic on Route 18 would increase, you don't think the fact that the police would be under more strain, it's something that has to be taken into consideration. Again, I'm not anti-cannabis, and I don't think he is either, so I'm not here to shoot him down on that, but I do think that the right choice was made. Maybe I gave him a little bit of a push at the meeting, but I do think the right choice was made to let other people do it and see how it worked out first before diving in, because like we said, and for the viewers at home that don't know this, once you signed up, you were stuck for 5 years. We can opt in at a later time when more data is given.
Thank you very much. We will conclude this forum tonight with closing statements from each of the candidates. The order will be in reverse of our opening statements. Therefore, the first candidate will be Dave Herrera.
Okay, I know this lady in the back with the sign is tired of me. She keeps holding it up. I'm sorry, I told you I was a talker. Again, ladies and gentlemen, residents of East Brunswick, my name is Dave Herrera. I've been walking around this town that I love for the last 6 months, talking to people of all races, religions, creeds, sexual identities, and political backgrounds. And you know what? The reality is we all agree with more things than we disagree with. I know a lot of people won't tell you that. The truth is I'm coming here to bring fiscal responsibility. I'm coming here to do a common sense redevelopment plan that doesn't put the taxpayers at the end of it, that makes sure that we're not displacing people that want to operate in East Brunswick. I'm here to break up the supermajority. I think you've heard my competitors say the word Team East Brunswick or Mayor Brad Cohen about 50 times. I'm not sure if I was debating Dinesh Behal or if I was debating Team East Brunswick. And that's basically who I've been campaigning against. 5 elected officials and a mayor. Instead of worrying about why East Brunswick floods every time it rains, instead of worrying about why Route 18 keeps getting flooded with traffic and the potholes are still there and businesses are still closing, we're worried about campaigning against a young guy that wants to step up and represent all people of East Brunswick. You know, I will make this point. He likes to say that, you know, he represents all people of East Brunswick. When your palm card got delivered to my house, it's paid for by the Democrat State Committee in Trenton. So how could you truly represent everybody in East Brunswick when you are literally bought and paid for by the Democrat state, and they shouldn't be involved in local issues? This is a local town. This is a town issue. It shouldn't be run by what goes on in Trenton. I'm here to represent people of all races, of all religions, and do what's best for the town. There's no golden rainbow or a pot of gold at the end of this campaign to be a Republican in this town. I know it's a lot of hard work. There's been a few angry people in this town that have made it known, but I'm here to represent people because at the end of the day, when our Constitution was written, at the top of it, it didn't say Team East Brunswick. It didn't say we need everybody on the same side. It said we the people. This country was founded on 2 parties. And for the 16,000 independent voters that are sitting at home right now, remember when you cast your ballot November 2nd, that 5 out of 5 council seats are on the Democrat Party. And a wise man once said, and I'll close it with this, if 2 men in a room have the same idea, you only need one of them. The East Brunswick Council currently has 5 of them.
Thank you very much. Democratic
Thank you.
closing statement.
Thank you. Before I start my closing statement, I just want to correct one statement. My opponent, I want to let him know that all the 5 members, except me, I'm appointed one, and definitely I'm sure that you will come forward and elect me also. They are elected by the residents of East Brunswick. So now that said, I'm going to start my closing statement. Let me first thank EBTV, the press, the moderator, and most importantly, our residents for giving me this opportunity to speak to you about the issues that are most important to me and currently facing East Brunswick. My name is Dinesh Behal. I'm a small business owner. I hold bachelor degree in accounting and many professional licenses in New Jersey. I'm a candidate who has the required experience, patience, knowledge, and proven record of accomplishments. With your vote, I want to continue to be your elected representative on the Township Council. I will be a voice for respectful governance and financial responsibility. I will continue the work started in 2017 by Mayor Brad Cohen's team to stabilize property taxes through an efficiently run government and through smart redevelopment of commercial and industrial properties. We will seek to adapt our redevelopment efforts to current development trends in the post-COVID environment. I look forward to improving other non-performing properties. Protecting our taxpayer and families is most important to me. We have beautiful parks, exciting recreation activities, and we look forward to new projects opening soon, one of which I hope and plan to work with my team to build a community center for our residents, which is very much needed in East Brunswick. We are a forward-thinking township, and above all, Mayor Brad Cohen team and I have the safety and well-being of each and every resident foremost in our thinking and daily operations. Please vote for me. I'm running on the Democratic Party ticket on column A on this year's ballot. My team and I have proven record of many accomplishments, and we will continue to work hard for improving the quality of life of East Brunswick residents. You can count on that. A vote for Dinesh Behal is a vote for stable, sustainable future of East Brunswick. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, candidates. That's all that we have time for this evening. Thank you to the candidates and the reporters for participating on EBTV's Township Council Candidates Forum. This program runs on EBTV until the election and is available on demand. Just go to www.ebtv.org under 2021 election programming. Election Day is Tuesday, November 2nd. Polls are open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. There are 11 polling locations in East Brunswick. Due to COVID-19, 3 of the smaller locations are closed. You can also check the township's website under Township Clerk Elections Information for more information, or call 732-390-6850 for your exact polling location. Also, the state has approved early voting from October 23rd to October 31st at the East Brunswick Community Arts Center. The hours are Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. If voting with a vote by mail ballot, they can be dropped off at the designated drop box, which is located on the court side of the municipal parking lot. And from the moderator, folks, this is your opportunity. Please take your responsibility and vote. It is the most important responsibility we have as American citizens. My name is Brodman, and thank you so much for watching.